Hello, and welcome to the December 11th edition of Thursday Night Thunder podcast with AJ and MMK. This is episode 33 of the series. I'm your host, Adam Jason Sinclair, and tonight on the most hardcore motorsports show on the internet, Michael and I will once again bring you the best discussion about the world of modern auto racing and beyond. The countdown to the second edition of the 1000 Miglia Experience Florida is underway, and the journey just got even more thrilling. Recently, organizers officially announced an exciting update to the 2026 route. Participants will now drive through Lakeland and have the rare opportunity to take down the legendary Sebring International Raceway, a new highlight of the rally's second leg. Following its acclaimed U.S. debut, which brought together 70 extraordinary vehicles and thousands of spectators all across Florida, the 1000 Miglia Experience Florida returns February 20th through the 23rd, 2026, with a route that captures both the spirit of the original Italian race and the vibrant character of the Sunshine State.
The rally begins on February 20th with a public training day and technical checks, followed by 3 competitive legs. February 21st is departure from Naples through Venice, where the convoy will be guest of honor at the city's centennial celebration, happening on the same weekend of their 36th Venice Italian Feast and Carnival. The convoy will then move towards Tampa. February 22nd, the route continues through Lakeland, followed by an exciting stop at Sebring International Raceway, America's oldest road racing circuit, thanks to the new partner Squadra Lupo. Here, the drivers will be able to test their cars on the iconic track. The event will be welcomed with a community parade and display in the town square. On February 23rd, the final leg travels through West Palm Beach and concludes in style with final arrival along Miami Beach's iconic Ocean Drive. Registration is open at 1000migliaexperienceflorida.us and will close on December 21st, 2025.
Nope, not hearing a damn thing.
Oh, Alessandro is here.
Can't do a damn thing.
Hi, guest. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, it appears that we're having a few technical difficulties, but he is trying to get it worked out. I'm sorry about that.
All right. Okay. No worries. I'm here. I'll be standing by.
Are you having a good day at least? Or evening?
Yeah, absolutely. How are you? Everything good? Apart of this technical issue?
Yeah, no, things are really good aside from this technical issue. But I have faith that it'll buff out.
So plugged in, I can't hear a damn thing. It's funny. I'm gonna forget it. Look at it. It's funny. It should be working. But it is not. So, see, it's plugged in.
Again, I apologize. He is trying to get it worked out.
Okay, plugs in.
Oh, no problem, no problem.
I just have to see where this
I
thing goes. I know it's plugged in the other one.
We appreciate you being here, though.
No, I totally. And unfortunately, I cannot help because I'm here. I would love to help to try to sort out his issue, but unfortunately, I'm just a little bit far away.
Well, that's you can help him in spirit.
No, let's find where it is. I need to find it. Can't hear a damn thing. It should have worked. It didn't work. Hey. There it is. No. Behind. This is plugged into. Let me unplug it. And then figure it out in a minute.
Your patience is not going unappreciated. So
Oh,
Can you
thank
hear me
you.
now?
Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear
Whoa!
us?
I can. Thank you. I had to
Oh,
unplug this.
perfect.
I had to unplug the stupid speaker, so I apologize for that. But let's see. Again, I'd like to welcome you to the program this evening. Thank you for your patience this evening. Can you tell us a little bit more about the history of the rally?
Oh, sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having me tonight. And I will be delighted to introduce the audience to the long-standing tradition of the legendary Miglia. And speaking on behalf of the whole organization from Italy, we're so much proud to have been able to bring this unique event to the United States with an exciting new formula. Miglia truly is an Italian monument. And Italy is considered to be a national institution for being so deeply rooted in the golden era of Italian and European motorsport. It truly is the pinnacle of historic road racing, or the most beautiful race in the world, quoting a very famous definition by Enzo Ferrari, whose personal and professional story is inextricably tied with the story of the Mille Miglia. But let's say it all started a rainy night in 1927 in Brescia, northern Italy, when a group of mentally insane local aristocrats, true pioneers of motor racing, which included a very famous journalist of the time, Giovanni Canestrini, challenged each other. And the challenge was, let's jump in our cars and see who is the fastest to drive from here to Rome, the capital city of Italy, and back on open roads with open traffic. And that happened to be exactly 1,000 miles loop, mille miglia in Italian. That's exactly how the myth was founded. And that very year, this crazy idea was established as an official speed race and started to attract the most famous drivers of the time. Tazio Nuvolari, Alberto Ascari, Piero Taruffi, Sterling Moss. The most legendary drivers secured themselves a spot in the immortality of motorsport by competing and winning in the Mille Miglia. So there was a time in the past century where actually you could not call yourself a true gentleman driver if you had not put yourself to the test by completing at least 1 Mille Miglia. Then it became increasingly dangerous to race like that on open roads with large crowds physically wrapping the cars, and some serious accidents started to occur. One in particular, the accident in the small town of Guidizzolo. I believe that many people in the audience tonight have seen the recent movie Ferrari, about the life and career of Enzo Ferrari, of course, directed by Michael Mann. And Mille Miglia race has a big part in the movie, and especially this accident is vividly remembered with some strong scenes. Well, De Portago and Nelson, the drivers of the leading Ferrari, were set out from Brescia early in that morning, maintaining a brisk pace. However, approximately 50 miles from the finish line, disaster struck in the town of Guidizzolo. The front tire of their Ferrari 335 suddenly exploded, causing Portago to lose control of the car, and they crashed dramatically against the public. The crash resulted in immediate fatalities of both the Portago and Nelson, and additionally 10 spectators, including 5 children, lost their lives. As a consequence, the Mille Miglia was immediately canceled and terminated by the Italian government for the next 20 years, and apparently for good. But in the mid-70s of the past century, it was resurrected thanks to a group of enthusiasts with a completely different formula, which is a totally safe and sound time-distance rally reserved to the most classic cars, a sort of the reenactment of the original Mille Miglia, or a splendid traveling museum, which again is a definition by Enzo Ferrari. And that is the formula still living today, with the Mille Miglia taking place in Italy every year, ever since in late June.
What sort of cars are eligible to compete in the rally?
Okay. Well, we have to make a distinction here between what happens in Italy and what are the rules for the cars that we allow for the formula we brought in the US. Because the Mille Miglia in Italy is very strict, because it's meant to be an historic reenactment of the original race, like I said. So the eligible cars are the cars built from 1927 to 1957, and only car models that actually participate to the original Mille Miglia in those years are admitted. But that's for Italy. The format brought for the US is much more flexible and inclusive, so there are 3 classes of eligible cars. The Queen class always is for the so-called Mille Miglia originals from 1927 to 1957, so the super classics. But then there's the motor classics, icons, cars built from 1958 to 1994, and additionally, doing this in Miami, where supercars are part of the natural landscape, just like the palm trees, we have included the contemporary supercar and hypercar class, which actually represents the majority of the entrants. So we do have 3 classes spanning all eras from 1927 to nowadays. And speaking of, yep, sorry.
No problem. I'm curious as to what other states, in addition to Florida, are going to host the rally next year.
Well, for now, the home state of the one and only official Miglia on American soil is Florida only. The
Okay.
rally is planned to be happening in Florida each time with a different route for the next 4 years, including the upcoming 2026 edition. But in the meanwhile, we're certainly studying additional U.S. opportunities for the future.
Awesome.
And speaking of eligibility criteria, there are no restrictions at all, but the cars should be in their original configuration, as built by the manufacturer, at least as much as possible. Heavily modified or tuned cars are not really in the spirit of this event, which is mostly about preserving automotive heritage. And it doesn't even have to be $1 million car. It could be a pristine Beetle from the 60s or even a glorious vintage Fiat 500, which we actually had in the first edition. It broke down twice, but both times we managed to get it going again, and eventually it made to the finish line. So we had a very wide mixed array of cars eligible for the first edition, and we are looking forward to have this kind of incredible mix for the second edition as well.
Awesome. My father had a Fiat in the 1970s, and it seems like he tells a story about how he used to have to keep a full trunk full of repair instruments in it to keep it running.
Yeah, that's a typical story with any kind of Fiat car, especially from those years. So reliability was not considered their best asset.
How many miles does the rally consist of in Florida this next year?
Well, yeah, in the first edition, last February 2025, we got close to the actual Miglia distance, which I said is 1,000 miles. Mm-hmm. Miglia means miles in Italian. But we realized that such a distance over just 3 days on secondary roads is really, really challenging. Especially the first leg was somewhat exhausting and gruesome for some of the participants, especially those aboard the most classic cars. So for the new upcoming edition, we have designed a slightly shorter route, around 700 miles, to make the journey more relaxed and enjoyable for everyone.
Are tickets going to be available for people who like to see the Sebring portion of the race, all the cars going around the track there?
Well, Sebring definitely is going to be one of the big highlights of the second edition, and we would love to invite spectators to come seeing the sessions at Sebring, absolutely free of charge. But unfortunately, the raceway grounds are a very controlled and restricted environment. Therefore, the general public will not be allowed on the track premises to attend the time trials. But on the other hand, media and journalists are welcome to participate upon registration in an accreditation list, so they will be granted access to the Fangio Galleria, which is an extraordinary viewing point over the track. Mm-hmm. So media can register to our website for trackside coverage or in general for easy access to the key moments of the rally. But I can say that the event in Sebring is not going to be happening at a raceway only. The whole historic downtown will be engaged by the Miglia Cars Parade with a beautiful stamp check by the famous Sebring Circle. And that is totally open to the public and absolutely free.
Cool. Sounds like it'd be an interesting event. I'd like to turn you over to my co-host, Michael Malacapello. I know you've been talking to her for a couple minutes, who has some questions for you as well. So.
Hello again.
Sure.
So,
hello.
My first question for you this evening, if you had the chance to watch the Miglia Experience China, what do you believe was the most memorable moment from that race or rally?
Well, that was an incredible first edition in China, but unfortunately, I did not have the opportunity to leave directly the experience in China, as our team is almost permanently here for the US edition. China is such a complex and challenging environment for an organizing an event like this, especially being a foreign brand, that I believe the accomplishment was unprecedented and memorable in itself. And we hope for having an even better and greater edition in China next year.
And the event had what looked like to be a pretty good turnout. What was your
I lost you. Hello?
Oh, no.
It seems like Mike's having issues.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, I'm sorry. It's my turn for the issues. What was your favorite car from the 1000 Miglia China event?
Well, for the Florida event, I could say that's an easy one. Stunning Ferrari 250 mm from 1952, where obviously mm stands for Mille Miglia, because that is the perfect incarnation and embodiment of the original Mille Miglia racing spirit. This is an incredible, rare racing car. Only 3 still existing in the world, at least known of. Body designed by Pininfarina, specifically built by Ferrari for the Mille Miglia. This car raced in the Mille Miglia in 1952 and still has the original racing numbers on, painted in a marvelous, marvelous blue Hollandaise, featured in the front cover of some of the most important classic automotive magazines, including Cavallino Classic. So we were very, very proud to have this car in the lineup. And I would say that my second most beloved car is Bugatti Type 57 from 1937, driven by a gentleman close to his 80s who has become my personal hero. Can you imagine? This is a museum grade car. It should be sitting in a museum as a Michelangelo statue. And yet we found this gentleman crazy enough to take it to the road for almost 1,000 miles. And these hardcore enthusiasts, you only find them at the Mille Miglia.
That sounds really neat. I was reading the participant information tab from the Miglia website, and you guys, it is specified very clearly in there that neither organization is responsible for traffic offenses occurred by a participant. And I'm just curious, how many traffic offenses usually occur during an event?
Well, this is the classic disclaimer that we are legally bound to include in all our documents, and mostly derives from the experience of the Mille Miglia in Italy, which, believe me, is one wild and chaotic mess where hordes of vintage cars recklessly hit towns and villages across the country. And I have to say that the police in Italy is even more enthusiastic about the rally than the drivers themselves. So the police, it's basically your partner in crime, encouraging you to speed. Here in the US, driving manners are much more orderly, and safety is always our top priority. So I would say very few and minor traffic violations occur during the event in Florida.
Oh, wow. And I wouldn't have guessed that. Of the violations that do occur, and I think I can maybe get this one, which ones seem to be the most reoccurring?
Speeding, definitely. Doing this in Florida, a land mostly known for alligators and for being flat as a pancake, there were portions of the route that were really, really flat and really, really straight. That's where the temptation for the supercars, especially to push the metal to push the pedal to the metal, is almost inevitable. So, firstly, speeding tends to be the most reoccurring violation that we experienced. And well, in this regard, let me tell you a short story about the exact car I was mentioning before, the Ferrari 250 mm. To control that car requires serious skills, because it's a racing machine from 1952, and the noise it makes is almost deafening. It's like being aboard a World War II aircraft, really. So the drivers wore headphones for most of the times, and suddenly they started having problems with the steering wheel that was vibrating like a pneumatic hammer. But then they realized that if they kept their speed steadily above 80 miles per hour, it would stop. For some kind of magic, it would stop. So you had this $14 million car from 1952, driven by 2 gentlemen with headphones on, launched as a missile at 90 miles per hour on some remote Florida backroads. And yes, we had to use all our diplomacy and considerable arguments to avoid these guys being arrested by the local police.
Wow, that sounds like quite the adrenaline rush.
Yeah, definitely.
So do all participants make it to the finish?
I would love to say yes, but in reality, no. Mostly because of the mechanical issues with some of the most vintage cars. We had a very effective mobile mechanical shop with us at all times to provide road assistance in any situation. And most of the time, they managed to solve the problem on site and to get the car back running. But in a few cases, I would say 4, they could not repair the cars and they had to be towed. Yeah.
And so is there a time limit or kind of like checkpoints? How exactly?
Hello, you hear me? Hello?
Hello?
Yeah. Now I'm not going to hear you back again.
Sorry. I'm so sorry.
No worries, no worries. So to answer your question, this is a regularity rally or a time distance rally. So the whole point is to try to be on schedule. A time, speed, distance rally or regularity race is where it's not about being the fastest, but the most precise behind the wheel. So therefore, it's a precision driving competition where teams follow a route using detailed instructions, aiming to arrive at checkpoints at exact preassigned times, not by going fast, but by maintaining specific average speeds. Well, theoretically, well under the speed limit. So yes, there are several time checkpoints along the route, each of them with race officials and timekeepers using a very specific tool to read the time that belongs to the very ancient tradition of the Mille Miglia. It's called pressostato, and it's basically a thin tube placed on the ground, which is a pressure-activated switch. So when you cross over the tube with your front tires, it opens the time reading. When you get to the next pressostato at the next time checkpoint, it closes the time reading and gives you the exact time for that section between the 2 checkpoints. So it's a test of accuracy, navigation, and teamwork, which is supposed to engage the driver and the navigator to read road books and distances. So the ultimate goal is really to stay on schedule as consistently as possible throughout the 3 days of the rally, with penalties for being early or late, making it a sort of chess on wheels, if we can call it that way.
Yeah.
Wow.
That is neat.
That's really neat. And how is a course determined for the event?
Well, this requires a very thorough and painstaking job. For sure, we know in advance that we have to cover a certain mileage for each day of the rally if we want to meet our general goal. And of course, we want to include the major towns of southern and central Florida, because that is the perimeter of our second edition. So we got on very precise road inspections with the most sophisticated odometers to measure times and distances between what we think could be attractive checkpoints, taking note of every turn and every intersection and every landmark. So in this way, road sector after road sector, the course for each day of the event is reflected in a road book. And for every day, we try to reach a good balance between scenic roads and landscapes, thrilling time trials, photo opportunities, stamp checks in public areas for the crowds to come to cheer the cars, lunches and dinners taking place in very special environments. And out of this balance, we define the whole course for the event.
Wow. And does the weather ever affect the rally, or is it just you kind of hope it's good weather that day and you go for it?
Well, when we first got to Florida to organize this, the locals kept repeating us one thing: don't worry about the weather. In Florida, in late February, it never ever rains. And in our second day of the rally, we had the worst rain on earth. It did not stop raining from 6 in the morning to midnight, and we crossed most of the state.
Oh,
But I would
wow.
say everybody endured a very tough day with great determination, and there were some teams that to me were true heroes. They never complained a bit, and on the contrary, they felt they have endured an unprecedented adventure. And you can think of that kind of cars from the 40s and the 50s, especially comes to my mind Jaguar XK 120. They didn't have the slightest piece of cover over the head, not even a windshield, not even the side windows, nothing. It was just a bare to the bone racing car from Jaguar in the 1953, and well, they were wearing helmets and goggles, and they tried to tie their raincoat to the handles of the car in order to create some kind of shield against the rain. And when they got to Cape Canaveral, where we had our lunch stop, and there was raining as hell, they opened the door, and gallons and gallons of water started to pour out. And it was something really, really tough, but it also added a great narrative to the rally and definitely made memories for a lifetime. So I would say no, weather does not stop Mille Miglia anyway.
Well, that's great. I like that. And my final question for you this evening, and I really enjoyed this conversation. What is the youngest age you've had participate in the rally?
Well, this is definitely a two people experience because you need a co-driver and navigators to support you. So we had quite a few husband and wife couples and also two father and son teams in the first edition, which is a nice way to embark in a very special family adventure. And in one of these father and son team, we had our youngest participant, which was 24.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And if my listeners are interested in following along with the rally's progress next year, or for more information on how they can possibly get involved, where can they go for that information, sir?
Well, the main hub is for sure our official website, which has the most complex address in the world, which reads Miglia Experience Florida.us. But at Mille, which is 1,000 in number, is 100 Miglia Experience Florida.us. So it's 1000 Miglia Experience Florida.us, which is our main website, when there will be published more updates, schedule of registration information, and everything that is helpful in order to understand where to go, in order to see the stamp checks, in order to have detailed program about the route that is going to be even more detailed as we get close to the event. And of course, our Instagram page for all the pictures and the entertainment that is surrounding this very special event. And of course, if you're based in Florida or visiting Florida, come assist live to the spectacular stamp checks we organize throughout the route, starting from Naples to Venice, Tampa, Lakeland, West Palm Beach. And there will be some very, very nice moments for the public to attend this event at the stamp checks, and the details about where they will be located are going to be published soon, I would say in early January on our website.
Awesome. I'll have to stop by the West Palm Beach location
Yeah.
anyway, and that'll be cool.
Yeah, it will be. It will be. Absolutely.
Well,
it was a great.
Thank you very much for coming on the show this evening, and I apologize for the issues, but it's great hearing from you.
No worries. It's been a true pleasure, and really thank you for having me tonight and having the opportunity to bring some of the flavors and the soul of this such a long-standing event that is coming back to the U.S. for the second time. Thank you again.
Thank you. Have a great evening. Once again, that was Alessandro Comoglio, Director of U.S. Operations of the 1000 Miglia Experience Florida. We're very happy to have him on the show tonight, and very happy he was able to put up other issues. I apologize for them, but technical gremlins seem to have found us once again. Apparently they're around for Christmas. It is a Christmas film, after all. Are you a race car driver, crew chief, pit member, track owner? Maybe you're just a huge fan of the sport. Contact us to get your spot on the show. After all, you deserve your 15 minutes of fame, and we'd love to hear from you. The big news of today, of course, was the fact that the NASCAR lawsuit has ended. Seems like it was a negotiated settlement at the end of the beginning of the day today, before the trial ended up kicking off for its 9th day. It was a settlement that no one has commented on directly, but they have made they had the courthouse news conference. The money that was involved has been put under wraps. I'm sure it'll come out eventually. But the main thing that came out from it was the fact that the lawsuit is over. There are now evergreen charters, which means that the teams will have their charters forever. They won't have to worry about turning them in or anything like that. They'll be able to make more money, which was, of course, the main thing of the charters. the whole lawsuit was the fact that the teams were worried about the distribution of funds being more even. That will be a part of it. I don't think that anybody wins in that, but it will be a better distribution of funds than what they currently have. I know there was a major sticking point with the France family, especially Jim France there, who didn't want to give up any of his family's money as he saw it to the owners. So that will change slightly. I know that for all of you who have been following the trial, and if you've been listening to this program for a while and listening to our discussion of it, you know that the NASCAR had a heck of a thing to prove in order to not lose this trial. And it seems to me, and I'm sure it seemed to NASCAR as well, especially to their attorney, to Mr. Kessler there, that they weren't having a very good time. It wasn't going their way. So when the attorneys met, both the NASCAR attorney as well as the attorney for 2311 and the attorney for Front Row, when they met and they were able to negotiate something, I know that the NASCAR came forward first. They're the ones who made the offer, and then the negotiations started. So should be a good thing next year. Now it seems like Denny Hamlin will be returning to the race car, at least from the news conference this afternoon, for next season. So that'll be cool. I know he's going to have a new crew chief because Chris Gagehart has left the team to Joe Gibbs Racing. But that'll be interesting to see how that goes. 2311 will have a full series of races. They're going to have at least 3 cars, sometimes 4 cars running next season, which would be awesome. Front Row has the 2 cars. They might have more. So it's going to be a really good year. And hopefully NASCAR takes advantage of it and counts their blessings that they didn't lose in court and they were able to make a negotiated settlement. How do you think what do you think about the information that's come out forward so far today about the NASCAR settlement?
Well, my only thing that I kind of take out of it is, and you're right. I think when you settle, like, nobody really wins and nobody really loses. It's almost like a draw, right? Like, so, but it'll almost allow like teams to put, more, I don't want to say like money and stuff into their cars, but it'll help the teams. It'll help the teams. And I think that's important. They're what keeps NASCAR going is these teams. So what about you? What do you think?
I agree with that, but I think it'll be interesting to see if any of the litigation that was talked about earlier in the week goes forward. I know that the founder of Bass Pro Shops was not happy with the current leadership of NASCAR, especially after he reviewed all the information that became public in trial. You could tell that from some of the fact that his sponsorship of the series has pulled back a lot in the past few years. But I know he's a huge money guy, so that will be interesting to see what he does. The fact that Richard Childress definitely was not happy with NASCAR. We talked about that last week. He mentioned that on the stand a little bit yesterday. Actually, it wasn't yesterday. It was Monday. A little bit on Monday. He talked about that, and Tuesday, I believe. So it was. He really wasn't happy with NASCAR. He wasn't happy with the questioning. He wasn't happy with some of the facts that came out during the case. The fact that that he doesn't own his entire team. He has partners. One of them a virtually silent partner whose name was mentioned in open court. I don't remember his name. It really doesn't matter. But it was mentioned in court, and it didn't seem like he was very keen on that. So it'd be interesting to see how it goes with some of the teams and what their opinion of NASCAR will be going forward. I know everybody's going to try and move forward with a new foot going into 2026, but there's a lot of hard feelings there, and I'm sure some of it will boil over in the end.
It'll be pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm. And if it's the same sort of coverage as they've had over the past few years, you'll never hear a word about it because they like to cover over that sort of stuff, even if it's the one of the top headlines on the internet or any other place, the NASCAR coverage will hide from it, which is sad, but that's how it goes.
I guess, I do have one question for you. At what point do you think all of these people affiliated and heavily affiliated with NASCAR started to become unhappy? Like at what point do you think they started to like realize like it's kind of, what's the word, hokey?
I think they became unhappy a couple of years ago when some of them became unhappy when the charge system was announced originally, and that's been several years. But I think a lot of them became unhappy as NASCAR reorganized. One of the main things that NASCAR did was when they incorporated the International Speedway Corporation, which used to be the holding company for all the tracks, for most of the tracks. The SMI still holds some. When they incorporated the International Speedway Corporation into NASCAR, and they basically pay themselves fees to rent their own tracks. That's money going from one pocket to another, and still all in Jim France or Ben Kennedy's pockets, or Lisa France Kennedy, of course. It's going to be from their pockets. So I think that's one of the things that hurt and that made some of the teams not very keen on the situation as it was. That was a main thing. I think that the SRX, which was discussed in trial there, was another thing. The fact that NASCAR wasn't very happy with the SRX series, even though the SRX series was it was a summer series, took place on Thursday nights. They liked the Thursday Night Thunder name, even though we used it before they did. But they liked the Thursday Night Thunder thing. They had fun with it. It was a summer series. It was cool. It was great for auto racing, and it even brought money to NASCAR because everybody sees the people driving. They see the car numbers and all that. And smart people, anybody who pays attention, knows that the SRX was not a NASCAR series. SRX was run by Tony Stewart with assistance from some other people. So I think that really pissed off Tony Stewart when they started pushing back against him. That's why Tony Stewart wasn't involved in the NASCAR trial. It's not involved in NASCAR in any way. And that was also one of the things when they pushed Tony Stewart out. There's a lot of different steps along the way where modern teams and owners got disillusioned with NASCAR as it was, and hopefully NASCAR learned that they can't do that, and I think that this settlement proves that to an extent, but time will be the main judge of that, and see how it changes next season, if it changes. And if in another 2 years they end up in another lawsuit, which wouldn't surprise me, or if it moves forward and people are all happy and the teams get at least some of what they wanted, and NASCAR gets at least some of what it wants. That's the hope of the settlement. That's the hope of the judge. That's the hope of all the people involved. And personally, I hope it works out that way, but I don't have faith it will. I think that there's so many issues there, and they didn't solve all of them. They tried to solve some, so hopefully it goes forward well, but I have a few doubts.
Oh, there's going to be hard feelings.
Mm-hmm.
At least a few, I'm sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of hard feelings there, and you won't hear about all of them, but in closed doors and behind the doors and the haulers and all that, and in Daytona and at other tracks, I'm sure that there'll be a lot of discussions, and I'm sure there's a lot of discussion going on right now, and there will be in the beginning of the year when teams start coming back full time for the being ready for Daytona. There'll be a lot of discussion saying, what are we doing here? What's the plan? How did things change? How does this affect me? How does it affect us? How does it affect the team? Will everything be good, or will it all just fall apart again? So we'll see how it goes next season. Next season won't be the judge of it, but I think in the year after that might be the kicker, and we'll see how it goes after that. How do you feel about the rumors now that were brought up a little bit today? Because I think people are trying to push the settlement aside a little bit. The rumors that there's another make coming into NASCAR. Some rumors that's Dodge. Some rumors that's possibly another foreign manufacturer coming in. How do you feel about that?
it's funny that you bring that up because I've heard rumors that it was Dodge and I heard rumors that it was Ford. So I've heard rumors for both makes, and I I I think it's cool. I think it's cool. I mean, it's I don't know. I think it's cool. I like the different the variety of the manufacturers. I think it's cool, and I think it's a good way for those manufacturers to kind of showcase their vehicles. Maybe I don't know, but I think it's cool, and I think that it shouldn't be a rumor. I think they should. They should bring one of each. Bring a Dodge and a Ford. Let's bring one of each. What do you
They
think?
should. I think they should. They should. Well, it wasn't good when Dodge left a few years ago. The fact that Ford is redoing their program, that's a good thing too. I know General Motors is working on other cars, but that's another thing they discussed in the trial was the fact that the cars are not as racy as they used to be. But I think that you would look at it that way. We can also look at the fact that those cars look a lot more like these quote unquote stock cars, the ones that are on the street now, a lot more, and that's a good thing for to sell the cars on the street. Even though the engines under the hood are definitely not your average street car, but the look of the car is some of the materials they use is so it's a I think it's still a good model to use, and I think they have something there, but they have a lot of work to do, and hopefully they're able to figure it out. I think that it would be cool to have Dodge come in, but it'd also be cool if it was a foreign manufacturer. Like they've talked about Kia in the past. They've talked about other manufacturers like that. So some manufacturers like uh, BMW that manufactures a lot of cars in the United States. So I think it'd be interesting. There's a lot of different options they have, and hopefully they take advantage of them.
Let's see, even a Nissan. I think a Nissan would be neat. Or you know what? There are a lot of Honda enthusiasts still. Let's get a Honda out there and let's see how it goes. I think that would be so neat. And a Kia, like you said, a Kia. I think it would be so cool. It would be so neat. I would like to see that happen.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's a lot of people in NASCAR there have been people in NASCAR for years who are talking to all different manufacturers, and I think that it'd be a good thing to expand it. They've done that in IMSA. They've expanded the amount of OEM manufacturers allowed in there. I think there's no reason they shouldn't do that for NASCAR as well. Everybody has their own sedans still. Uh, some of them have, and they can even expand in the truck series. There's more manufacturers now that manufacture trucks than manufacture small cars. So you can do that too. Um, just make it bigger and better. That's what the fans are definitely looking for that, and I'm sure the tracks are as well, and even some of the drivers they all like opportunity.
They could even do a sort of like a branch off kind of like another series that has just strictly the foreign type manufactured cars. I think
They
that'd
had
be
that. Yeah, they had that a few years ago. They had the Daytona Dash series, which had the smaller engine cars, but a lot of them were foreign manufactured cars.
oh
Um,
wow.
that just sort of fizzled, but they did have that, and I think that they need to do something similar to that again.
Yeah, I don't think it would hurt to try it out. I'm gonna go look for that when we're done with the show tonight. I'm gonna go look for that what you just said. But I
I
don't
think
think it could hurt to try. It'll either work out or it won't, and then dang, maybe third time's not the charm, and we won't try it again.
exactly. The I think it was really cool to see this past weekend. I watched a little bit of the Five Flag Speedway coverage. To talk about the weather in Florida, of course, the rain there in Pensacola was insane over the past weekend. They ended up actually finishing the race on Tuesday, which is weird considering it was supposed to be a Sunday afternoon race. Ended up being late on Monday, and they finished it out on Tuesday. But it that looked like a really cool race too. I'd love to head up to Pensacola at some point and see that. There were an awful lot of cars, all different classes, and that's kind of why I'm looking forward to the World Series of Asphalt there in New Smyrna because it'll be the same sort of thing with a bunch of different cars. Even some of the cars that raced in Pensacola will be there, so should be a good thing. I know that ARCA is trying to expand more now, uh, so that'll be interesting as well. A lot of good things happening in racing, but it really it really depends on how it all works out next year. Next year will be an interesting year, and the following year when things change a little bit, but we'll see how it goes. So, are you heading out to any ice racing out in your neck of the woods out there this winter?
No, but it's really weird, and I don't want to jinx it, and I'm not complaining. We have been almost 60 degrees the last 2 days, and for the next at least 5 days, we're gonna be in kind of the low 50s, but higher 40s. And last night I was outside. I didn't have a coat on, and I've had, 3 shirts and 2 pairs of pants, and I always wear like 3 pairs of socks, and I'm not exaggerating. And I didn't have to wear like anything extra. I had my normal clothes on. I didn't have a sweater on, and it was really nice. It was really nice. And that's not typical for December. It's not. It's really not. The cars weren't even frosted over. I went outside to take the garbage out. It was like 2 in the morning, and the cars had no frost on them. So I'm not sure at this moment in time we would have anywhere to really ice race. The mountain passes that have like the ski resorts and stuff, they're having to use their snow machines because we don't have snow. And so I'm not sure we'd really find any good ice racing around here this year. Well, see, there I go jinxing it. Now, December or January 1st, it's going to be -5 degrees because I just said that. So, all right, ask me again in a month. But as of right now, it's way too nice.
Yeah, it didn't even make it out of the 60s down here today, so that's the little chilly here today, but that's okay.
Yeah, that sounds lovely. What is like the perfect temperature for Florida?
Depends on what time of year it is. I think some people would argue the perfect temperature for Florida is now. When it didn't make it up out of the 60s, it's probably making it in the mid 70s probably tomorrow. It's still going to start in the 40s tomorrow morning, but it's so some people like that. I think if the humidity is low, which it was yesterday, but it wasn't today, um, this temperature is okay. So probably mid 70s with the 60s at night, but as long as it doesn't get cooler than that, and it is definitely getting cooler than that tomorrow. So this time of year is pretty nice, but sometimes it's not. And there's been other times in the past few years where it's been 94 degrees in Christmas Day.
Wow.
So you never you never can tell. This year is going to be average. It's probably going to be in the 70s. So that'll be good. But
Wow.
it's supposed to be cold in January. It's supposed to be in the another below average January, and we'll see how that goes. But I'm hoping it's a little warmer at least for the first week of January because I'm going to be down in the Florida Keys for a week. So if it's nice and at least warmer than average, that would be good. Being in the Keys cold is not my idea of fun.
No. Isn't the unless I don't really know my Florida area very well, which I kind of don't, I'll be honest. I know that I would love to move. I would move there in a heartbeat. I really would. But are the Keys, isn't that like typically like super nice year round?
Typically, it's rainy right now. It's been raining for the past few weeks there, just because there's been a lot of cold fronts and stuff around. But in January, it's okay. Um, it's further south. It's surrounded all by water and all that. The water's on one side. It's in the upper 70s, low 80s. The other side, it's in the 70s down there. Further north, it gets into the water drops off significantly because of the Mississippi River and all that. But it's still not bad. Um, Most of the year, it's warm enough to go in the water there, which is kind of what my mother-in-law and all that are hoping that it's warm enough to go in the water in January. I would not go in the water in January. That's just the Floridian in me. I'm not going to do that. But they're hoping, so we'll see. But it is generally warmer. It's generally nicer down there. So it'll be fun. It'll be a different thing. Haven't been in the Keys for a week in ever, so it'll be cool. Looking forward to it. Not a lot of racing down there. A lot of stuff got the power boats, but that was a couple weeks ago. So there we go.
They could host like a beach race.
Yeah. Not many beaches in the Florida Keys, surprisingly. Is it because it's all rocky? They're just a lot of coral beaches and all that. Not exactly the beach area. If you want to go to the beach, you come here. You come to anywhere in South Florida. You come to anywhere in the mainland Florida anyway. Anywhere from Daytona south, you'd be able to do the beach there. Even Daytona's beach is dinky now because of the fact of all the erosion and the higher tides and all that. But you want to go to the beach, you go to the beach in the main state of Florida. You want to go to the water for like snorkeling and that sort of thing, you go down to the Keys.
I've never snorkeled before. Is it dangerous?
Everything's dangerous if you're not doing it right. But the snorkeling, no, it's not that bad. You get used to it. If you haven't done it before, I'd recommend using just the normal snorkels, not using the fancy mask with the snorkel on them, because people get confused by that, and then they go under and they get water and they're bad. So, but snorkeling's fun. It's cool. It's I'm hoping I get to do at least one day of that next January. Odds are against it, of course, but possible. So I'm hoping. But here we go. A lot of stuff to see there. A lot of interesting things. A lot of beautiful fish and reefs and all that. So, really awesome.
Any sharks?
Yep, lots of sharks. Not as many as there used to be, but lots of sharks. So there's even shark tours. There's that sort of thing where you go out and they chum the water for you, and you watch the sharks come after the boat and all the other hokey stuff. So.
Oh wow!
I've been on one of those before in Bahamas. We did the shark tour thing, but there weren't. Like I said, sharks are not as common as they used to be. So you have to be lucky to see them. When we were in the Bahamas earlier this year, we did get a chance to go to a restaurant that actually feeds the sharks, which was something. They throw the chicken and other fish parts right off the pier into the water. The fairly large reef sharks, one of them probably more than 10 feet, come up and go after it. So if you ever have a chance to go down to the Bahamas, go to Freeport and Pier 1 restaurant, see them feed the sharks.
That would be kind of fun, but I think I watched too many movies, like, oh, don't tap on the glass, and then they tap the glass and the shark comes up and swallows them whole, So, but I guess you just don't tap the glass and you're fine. Nothing to worry about.
Fine, exactly. No glass tapping on the in the glass bottom boats for the shark tours. That's the main thing there. And you're all set.
See, and I would even be skeptical about a shark tour, because what if the shark ate the boat? That wouldn't end well.
It probably would not. No, it'd be funny though. Then you'd be a star. You'd have a movie made after you, because you'd have the Shark Eats Boat movie coming out. It'd be all set.
True. But it'd still be scary. And you'd have to hope that you make it out alive to see the movie they made about you.
Exactly. Anyway, it should be good. We're going to have hopefully the Gremlins work themselves out today, because next week we could have a special guest on next week. I'm working on it, working really hard. If it doesn't work out, we'll go ahead and talk a little bit more about the series that competitor races in next week, and we'll also do a little bit of previews for our shows in 2026, because I have a feeling that next week will be our last show of the year, because it seems like that's how it's going to work out timing wise, with the holiday coming up. Yes, with the holiday coming up in 2 weeks, Christmas, and New Year's Day the following week. So next week will be our final show of 2025, and it's been a good year for us. It's been better year than it was last year, and that's all I can really say. And then we'll take a few weeks off because we'll be returning to the airwaves on the 15th of January. That'll be our next show after next week. So we're going to be off from December 18th, our final show of this year, our first show of next year, January 15th. So should be a good year. Should be a good off season for us. Have a few weeks off to think about our plans for next season. As I stated, we do have a few guests who are lined up for the next few weeks. Working really hard to get their guests for next week. And after that, I got a couple more coming on early next year. So it should be a good thing. And hopefully you have enjoyed this show for 2025. And we look forward to seeing you next week and seeing you in the following year as well. Be sure to check out past episodes of Thursday Night Thunder by visiting facebook.com/SD Thursday Night Thunder. Listening to previous episodes of this show are available at Thursday Night Thunder Podcast.podbean.com. You can also find us on Podchaser, find us on iHeartRadio, on Boomplay, on Spotify, on Player FM. We're also available on other platforms. Be sure to just look for it. You can find all episodes of this show on youtube.com/Favorplums. That's FAVORPLUMBS. Find it there. I also have past episodes of our previous incarnation available on there as well. Not very many, but there's a few. For more information about the supporting the show with the fan club feature, check out the Podbean app. Visit facebook.com/SD Thursday Night Thunder. There's an information tab there as well. I also invite you to check out my racing news site at motorsportsnewsandviews.wordpress.com. Published a bunch of articles this past week about that, about all sorts of updates about the series schedules for next year, as well as some news about the drivers who will be competing in the different series next season. Got some great information from Nice Motorsports as well as other teams as well. In the next few days, I'll be posting some more news about the sponsored notifications for different series, as well as some information about possibly a few more Christmas things, because I have a couple of holiday shopping guides that are posted up there as well. Be sure to check that out. There's some pretty cool ideas. In addition, if you're a fan of South Florida, and who isn't, be sure to check out the latest news and information about our slice of paradise at my travel blog, Favorplums Fantastic Finds, which you can find on Facebook, on Twitter, which is now known as X. You can find it at PB Happening, the easiest way. And by going to favorplumsfantasticfinds.wordpress.com.
Thank you for listening, and we look forward to seeing you again next week in the Thunderdome as we discuss the major issues in the world of modern auto racing.
Thanks again. Have a great night.